and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who is just an adorable ball of furry fun. It's Greg. How are you today, my man?
Not bad, all things considered. I'm
yes,
sitting here in my flak jacket like Kate Adie.
Yeah, listeners, you're lucky you're getting a fucking episode this week. I don't know if you've heard the news. There's a few things going on where Greg lives. So yeah, we're actually recording this a week late. I will power through and get this out on scheduled time. But yeah, are you coping okay? Everything good? Or
Yes, yeah. Under the circumstances, we're doing all right. Okay. It's amazing, you just sort of try and find ways to keep a bit of normality about you, you know what I mean? Like, I can't quite bring myself to follow the advice of a mutual friend and download an online video game to play with him and a load of 12-year-olds. I know he means well, but it's really the thought of having to... online gaming, I don't really enjoy anyway. I tried... Remember the Friday the 13th game that came out years ago?
Yes.
Tried that, found it very difficult, found it quite annoying as well, because it was at one point I drew the Jason straw, so I was the hunter, and I thought, this would be more fun. And basically this guy with one of the survivors he literally ran in circles around my Jason, and I couldn't catch him, so I ended up just closing the game off and never played it again. And more recently, I did give the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game a go, which is a very similar vibe to the Friday the 13th one. You can either play as one of the cannibal family, or you can play as one of the trapped teenagers, and there's various, got to kind of sneak about the house and, find the keys and find the thing, find the gate key, find this, find that, so you can escape from the farm. And again, I found that quite anxiety causing because I was fucking rubbish at it. I much prefer to play with myself if I play in a video game than play with others,
Yeah, I'm the same actually. I don't really play video games much at all, although I bought a game for the first time in ages last week.
Really?
I bought, for my Switch, I bought Mario Golf. Oh. Now, the reason for this is that, it's a long story, but it was my birthday 2 weeks ago, and my girlfriend surprised me by taking me to an indoor... There's a place, it's like a 10-minute walk from her apartment. Never realised it existed. It's an indoor golf area.
Okay.
So you can play indoors, stuff. She's been going there since the beginning of January, not telling me, taking golf lessons, with the premise that we can start playing golf together. Because I have said, I'd love to play golf, but it's more the time and all this. So it's a surprise she's been doing. So we played... 9 holes at St Andrews on my birthday.
So is it one of these ones where you sort of hit the ball at the screen? Yeah, I've seen them before. There's one in Glasgow.
It's just it's great. There's just these bays of it, and it's perfect for practice. Yeah. And there's a few courses nearby which we're going to start going to. But this was a great starting point. So I bought Mario Golf for the Switch because I figured, we could play this in the house. So we played that last week. But online, I have never got into either. I also played that Friday the 13th game online years ago. And I think there was some they must have been about 11 or 12 years old, American kid that was on with me and calling me a pork cutlet because that I was messing something up or something. Right. And I was like, I don't appreciate this language. I was like, and I never really went on again either. I think I tried FIFA once. I was playing FIFA myself, and I was always like, I'm getting really good, beating the computer by lots of goals, and I'll go online and play, and then get my ass handed to me 10-0 or something, and it's maybe I'm not ready for this. So
that's the thing.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of it either.
No, it's not for me. I used to because there's been a few versions of Mario Golf over the years, and my daughter's Switch, you can you can download, and if you're a member of like the whatever it is, Club Nintendo or whatever the Nintendo thing is, you can download a sort of virtual N64 console, a virtual NES, a virtual Super Nintendo, etc., etc. So I've been playing Mario Golf, I think, on the Super Nintendo like a couple of years ago. Yeah. It's good fun. It's a fun golf game, Mario Golf. So it is. It's quite, and it's, you know, the good thing about playing golf on the computer is it's not a very urgent game. You know what I mean? If you want to chill, the only bit that's urgent is when you're getting the kind of the power and the accuracy. You got to time it, haven't you? As the wee gauges go up and down.
Yeah,
but you know, it's fine.
Well, it was good because the one for the Switch, you can use the controllers and swing it like a golf club. Yeah. So we cleared the space in front of the TV and we were doing that, and yeah, it's good. It's quite accurate in terms of like chipping and putting. It was good.
My wife and I used to, before we had the kids, when the first Wii was released back in whatever it was, 2006, 2007, and we used to play a lot of the tennis on the Wii Sports. It was good fun. And the 10-pin bowling was quite good fun on the Wii Sports as well. They were probably the two best ones.
Yeah. I remember my nieces had a Wii, and used to quite enjoy playing the bowling and stuff on that. Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, but now I play real tennis, which it's not quite as rewarding, but it's definitely good. It's definitely better for me, you know.
I was thinking of you this week. Actually, I was listening to a couple of episodes ago of the Christopher MacArthur Boyd podcast, Shooting Ropes. And they said something about paddle with a guest, and it's like, what's paddle? And he goes, paddle, it's tennis for cunts. And I was like,
I play paddle as well.
I know, but I was like, it's okay. You play tennis, so it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, I just laughed at that.
I played paddle on Tuesday night. My friend who I play with, my buddy Tim, who lives down the road, his building has got a paddle court in it, and you can book it. So, and paddle is quite good fun for doubles. It's harder if it's singles because it's quite fast. It's more of a cross between tennis and squash is like really hard. You've got to be super fit. And I've been trying to. I don't know if you've ever caught any of the kind of professional paddle guys. If you've seen any of them play,
No.
they're good at the old. They call it defending the net. So they get really close to the net, and it's almost like they're almost like a goalkeeper almost. You know what I mean? They just hitting the ball as soon as it comes back over. And I've been trying to get my sort of smash right for months and months. And I was a wee bit nervous playing on Tuesday night because obviously we're outside. You know, I'm in Dubai. There's all this stuff going on and everything. I'm kind of waiting for the alert to go off and everything. So I managed to pull off like my first ever smash, and it was a good one. It was perfect. It had the desired effect. The guys missed it. We won the point. I was really pleased with myself. So then a little while later, the opportunity to do it again came. So I jumped and I hit it perfectly, but I hit it right at one of the guys, the other team. Missed his bollocks by a fucking hair. I was like, oh, sorry. I was like, it's a tough sport.
Violent paddle player. That's shocking, man. Poor boy, poor guy. They got his balls paddled.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks, Greg?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, buddy, you've been a little bit busy the last couple of weeks, but have you seen anything in Scotland that has caught your eye that you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, this is, it's a wee bit of a departure from our usual fare on the news section. I'm interested because obviously you and I have had a bit of a relationship sort of with this company, and our listeners might be shocked to hear that Nicky does have a day job that isn't podcasting. So I'm interested in your professional opinion on some of the things in this. So for anybody who isn't familiar with Brewdog, it's a craft beer company that was from the northeast of Scotland, from Aberdeenshire, and they've had like a really sort of successful 15, 20 years, nearly, something like that. But the last couple of years, they've kind of been on their uppers. So this article comes from Aberdeen Live, and it's obviously particularly sensitive for the people of Aberdeen, because it is an Aberdeenshire company. So the headline is "The Rise and Fall of Brewdog: How the Disruptive Punk Rock Beer Business Fell Flat." I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is quite a long one. I'll just try and stick to the interesting parts. So the article starts: "There aren't many businesses born in Aberdeenshire that have recognition across the globe without some sort of ties to the oil and gas industry, but Brewdog was the one, as it burst onto the scene with a reputation for being a disruptor. It prided itself on being rebellious and edgy, but while the brand lives on after a £33 million sale to a company better known for medicinal cannabis than craft beer, it's hard to call it anything other than a catastrophic downfall. Less than a decade ago, it cost private equity firm TSG Consumer Partners $213 million for a 22% stake in the company. That it has now been sold for the equivalent of a rather middle-of-the-road English Premier League midfielder is a damning sign of its decline. And as part of the deal, almost 500 jobs are going in the UK, while dozens of Brewdog pubs have already been locked up for the final time. Aberdeen lost 2 on Castlegate and in Union Square, the shopping centre there. Inverurie lost 1. Our mutual friend will be gutted because that's like his local, isn't it, the Inverurie one? A total of 30 venues that once thrived shuttered in the blink of an eye, and what once seemed destined to be a fixture of town centres across the UK and beyond already feels like a relic of the 2010s craft beer boom. So Brewdog was famously founded by former school friends Martin Dickey and James Watt in Fraserburgh. I know people that know James Watt because obviously the northeast of Scotland's a bit of a village, right? Especially in that kind of industry, and not a great reputation, if I'm being honest. Like, not well liked, I would say. Dickey had a background in the industry. He'd studied brewing and distilling at Heriot Watt Uni in Edinburgh, and he was working for the Thornbridge Brewery in England. He helped create Jaipur beer. You know that one? Jaipur. Watt was on a different career path. He was originally looking at law before he turned his back on a legal profession, or failed his exams, depending on who you talk to, and became a fisherman. And he and Dickey shared a flat in Edinburgh while they were studying, and they'd experimented with their own beer flavours. So from here, Brewdog was born. Right from the start, the company focused on an aggressive, in-your-face promotional campaign. Its flagship beer, Punk IPA, started something of a beer revolution in Scotland, and it became one of the fastest-growing brands on the market. Brewdog's aim was to upset the traditional market, and almost right from the start, it worked. In 2008, industry watchdog the Portman Group accused it of aggressive advertising, and for a period it looked as though Punk IPA, along with Hop Rocker and Riptide, might disappear from supermarket shelves. Portman was concerned about Brewdog Watt accused Portman of acting like a cartel, saying it was funded by companies concerned about Brewdog infringing on their market share. Products included Sink the Bismarck with an ABV of 41%, The End of History with a 55% ABV, which they packaged in stuffed animals, and the Dead Pony Club, The End of History was sold for about £700. I think we had a story about one of their beers years ago on here, but they were giving away like a gold can or something like that, remember?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Other products that courted controversy was a Pink IPA, which was marketed as a beer for girls, and the Dead Pony Club IPA, which was said to promote antisocial behaviour. Blah, blah, blah. Moved from Fraserburgh to Ellen in 2014, opened big plant there. They started the Equity for Punk scheme, which I know our mutual friend is part of, which allowed fans of the brand to buy a stake in the business. It's very successful. They got about 200,000 investors and raised millions of pounds, but obviously the sale on Monday means that all the investors have lost their money. Brewdog described itself as a post-punk apocalyptic motherfucker of a craft brewery, and yet its punk credentials were often questioned. In 2017, it threatened legal action against a Birmingham pub called Lone Wolf, which was a name that they trademarked, before doing a U-turn and saying they made a mistake. And ironically, they'd been in a similar position when they were sued by the estate of Elvis Presley for naming their grapefruity beer, Elvis juice. Remember that?
Yeah.
So for all its anarchy ethos, Brewdog was by this stage a firm example of a capitalist success story. The anti-establishment firm had become the establishment it once rallied against, but this contradiction seemed to do little to slow its expansion or its popularity. Branded out into spirits, opened a distillery in the USA, opened an alcohol-free bar in London, which was as successful as you might imagine, opened in 2020, closed in 2022, having ditched its original USP and started selling normal beers. More damaging were allegations about working conditions, allegations against James Watt himself for being a bit handsy and creating this culture of fear. So yeah, basically it's been sold. Watt stepped down in 2024, changing his name from CEO to captain and co-founder, which I think tells you more about his personality there. Nicky left completely in 2025, which was the same year that Brewdog closed 10 pubs, including their first one in Aberdeen, which I think was the Castlegate, the first one, the old, what was it called? I know they had put an ad down the stairs. What was the Athenaeum?
The Athenaeum.
Athenaeum. The company blamed rising costs, increased regulation, and economic pressures. They closed their spirit distilling factory in Ellen in January. It's been put up for sale. So I can remember when Brewdog was quite new, and being quite, I think you and I were quite enamoured of it originally, weren't we? We both, when it first came out, I think we both quite enjoyed them. Were you not? You see?
I just missed Brewdog.
Yeah.
Because I left in 2007.
Yeah.
And that's when Brewdog kind of launched. So I kind of missed the initial part of Brewdog. But I was exposed to it when I would come back to Scotland, because it wasn't really available in the Middle East at that point.
No.
Latterly it was. But so I kind of followed a lot of it online. And I have to be honest, I did really like Brewdog, and I did kind of buy into the hype of the company. And they were cool. They were quite edgy. I mean, it did turn out they were about as punk as Enya, to be honest, as things went on. But they were very clever in terms of their marketing, in terms of what they were trying to do, what they were trying to achieve. And hey, you know something, fair play, 2 guys from Ellen.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We do like a success story, and we do like things like this.
Yeah.
But if you're a cunt about it, then we will fucking destroy you. And unfortunately, Watt turned out to be an absolute cunt. And it's exactly as you said. I'd heard stories from people in Aberdeen, and it's difficult to get on board when you read stories about that. I think they bought into their own hype and they still try to display edginess, and then they tried to push it further and further, which didn't work. I think at one point, there was something a few years ago, they were trying to bring out like a non-binary transgender beer or something. And it's guys, no, don't touch that. You can't be doing that. Like, there was some things that they did that was quite funny, quite amusing, you thought was quite good, but they were almost trying to do like Iron Brew style adverts, but they don't have the cachet to get away with it. And for me, I don't get me wrong, I liked their beers, like I really did. And I thought they were nice. I did like them. But then I started to see through things, and it was just like, they weren't punk. They were corporate as fuck.
Yeah.
And that's why I stopped. I really didn't want to go into their bars, because it was like, this is everything you stood against. Like you've all you've done is create a chain bar.
Yeah.
And there's nothing punk or edgy about this. I know our mutual friend loved, but that's why I think that a couple of times ago when we were back, and I was like, I don't want to go into any Brewdog pubs because I just hate them, because it's just soulless.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of like a TGI Fridays.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want anything. I know he was a bit upset because I think they do the best wings.
I've heard, apparently the chicken wings are really good. I've heard it mentioned a couple of times, I think.
But yeah, I mean, there's one here at Amsterdam Central Station. I've never been in it, but I went past it when I was in Amsterdam. I think we didn't go in either. I mean, so I wouldn't go to like somewhere like Amsterdam and go to like a chain bar. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like an international chain bar. If you're going to go to a bar, you want to go somewhere that's got a bit of local vibe about it and local beers and things. Yeah.
So I think it's a terrible shame for all those people that invested that lost money, because they have kind of been conned out of it in a way. they've maybe got their money's worth. I know our mutual friend invested, but another friend that we know invested quite a lot of money in them. And I don't know if he cashed out or if he's lost that. But
I don't know.
I know he did invest a sizable
amount. I don't know if you can
amount.
really... I don't know if it was a sort of thing where you could cash out, because I thought... I'm sure a mutual friend told us that he would get maybe like once a year he would get a box of beers sent, and then and they would have the sort of convention at the Press and Journal Arena or whatever once a year, but you had to buy a ticket. You didn't just get a ticket, but it was only for investors, but they had to buy their own ticket. And then I think they got something like maybe 4 free beers at it. It didn't seem like I think it was one of those ones where you could buy your shares for X amount, and then when they reached a certain amount, you could cash out if you wanted to, or after a certain amount of time. It didn't really feel like that.
I don't know. I mean, you must have been able to sell your shares. I do wonder, I don't think our mutual friend had that many shares, if that makes sense.
It's far too tight.
Whereas Hammy had quite a lot.
Right.
And he did get a lot of stuff that our mutual friend didn't, if that makes sense.
Okay.
He would get boxes every month of beer. And apparently because he did invest a fair bit. So I don't know if he was able to sell his shares or not.
It's essentially then one of these, I've heard you sometimes used to hear them being advertised on podcasts, like a kind of beer club where you paid a monthly retainer, and every month they'd send you a selection of beers. Right?
Well, no, he bought shares in the company. So it wasn't like a beer club. They were sending them to him for free. But obviously he was a shareholder. So I don't know. It was expensive, obviously, in the long run. Yeah, I don't know. I fell out of love with the brand a while ago. I used to be quite proud. And I did be able to say they're from Ellen, they're from Aberdeen. It's a local kind of beer. Oh, it's Brewdog. Even up until a couple of years ago, I was still that way. And then just... I don't know, saw through everything. I think around about the time there was the controversies with James Watt and things coming out about them, and I just kind of fell out of love. And now, I don't drink, so no reason. They're alcohol-free beer, I guess, is okay. But I don't even really drink much of that. But it's a shame to see. But well.
I think I think the thing is because one of the things I used to really enjoy about my trips home was the sort of selection of IPA available. Obviously, when I was in Kuwait, Kuwait was dry, so it was all upside. But even here, it's a bit better for IPAs and things. And I can't really drink them the way I used to because the sugar just fucking makes me feel like shit the next day. But I do like one or two. I find some of them a bit sweet. It's a bit more available here now. IPA, that is. There's some American ones and a couple of British ones you sometimes find. But I used to really enjoy when I went home. I would drink Brewdog. And I would, if I went to the supermarket, I'd buy one of their sort of selection boxes. But then I think it was maybe not last time I was back, maybe the time before. I was thinking about, they've got the Punk IPA, they've got the Clockwork Tangerine and the Elvis Juice, and that's their sort of trinity of beers. Now, they have all, and maybe Hazy Jane to some extent as well.
Yeah.
And then
I would say,
they bring all these other ones out, like Wingman and the cans are always, the designs on the cans are always immense, But what I found is they either taste a wee bit like one of those original 4, or they're fucking undrinkable sometimes. But for me personally speaking, I've bought a couple before. I bought one with one of those sort of Chinese waving cat ornaments that you sometimes get in the Chinese restaurants. There's a drawing of one of them on there, and a really nice can, really good looking can. And I found it completely undrinkable. I thought it was absolutely disgusting. And now that's it's a personal thing. But even the ones that I've liked that haven't been one of those 4, and I like all those. I'm not so much into the Elvis Juice, just because it's a bit too strong. But I do like Hazy Jane and Punk and Clockwork Tangerine. But everything else just seems like a bit of a derivative of that. And I think the thing is, I think it matters how good your marketing and your message and everything is. If you don't have a fucking great product, or you're not innovative, and because there's a lot of other companies that have kind of come in their wake that do nice ones, You know what I mean? That are, they're not maybe not as big as Brewdog, or maybe don't have draft anywhere. They just sell cans in the supermarket or whatever. But they're fine. They're good, and they're about the same price and everything. And it doesn't really matter how good your campaigns and your message is. If your product's doesn't live up to it, then you want a loser, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think like when I first moved here, like the supermarkets, they usually have, I think, 3 Brewdog products. And it's Punk, Elvis Juice, and Hazy Jane. Yeah. And I would sometimes purchase, and it's more out of because it was Scottish. Yeah. And I did. And then I soon realised, there's a lot of fucking Dutch brewers that are a lot better and cheaper. So like Funky Falcon, I'll drink that instead. Yeah. So it was a lot nicer. But yeah, I did like the Hazy Jane, and it's a novelty. I still had it last year when I was in Tower Records in Tokyo, and there was a beer fridge. And they had Punk IPA and Hazy Jane in it, and it was like, have a beer as you're browsing, and it was like, that's fucking cool. But it just, I don't know. Yeah. Never mind. It's a shame. Yeah. It's a shame, but
I feel for the people I do feel for people that have lost their jobs in the bars and things. It's a bit of a shame that hasn't worked out, hasn't endured. But I'm sure it'll endure in one shape or form, because it is it's just a strong brand, and the product is decent. And
I mean, there was the news as well last week that Tennent's bought Innocent Gun, which was another kind of brand. So I mean, Tennent's obviously marching on. Yeah. Nothing will defeat the tea.
Absolutely not. Even though you've had your last ever pint of Tennent's.
You get Tennent's 0%, I think, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, maybe
I'll have to see if I can find that next time I'm back in Scotland.
A couple of zeros next time we're there. Yeah. Okay, well, let's sort of legislated Brewdog to death there. What is your first story? I feel that we'll be back in terra firma any moment now.
Well, yeah, kind of. It's maybe, well, not really, but my story is from Aberdeen Live last week, Greg. And the headline is, Mum can't fall asleep unless she puts on an episode of Friends. A 40-year-old mum who has been obsessed with Friends since the US sitcom first aired 30 years ago now has to put on an episode every night to help her fall asleep. Nicky Hardy from Aberdeen says she has watched the episodes thousands of times and now relies on Chandler, Joey, Monica, Phoebe, Rachel and Ross to get her to sleep. Nicky said, "It started in lockdown. I was really struggling with sleeping because of the uncertainty of everything, and I was just feeling really wired. So one night, because it's so familiar and I don't have to concentrate on it, I put Friends on for comfort. It helped her drop off and became a habit that stuck. Now Nicky pops an episode on her iPad every night just to nod off. Her 13-year-old son, Josh, does the same, playing it on his computer. It's the warmth and the humour. It's so comforting. They've been in my life now for so long that I just feel a real connection with the characters," said Nicky. Nicky's been all around the world in honour of her love for the show, visiting the apartments in New York in 2008 and 2024, and visiting the Warner Brothers studio in LA to see the set with her husband Chris. "We've seen the stage and the original fountain, the sofa and Central Perk Cafe. It was really cool," she said. And Nicky even has 2 Friends tattoos. Nicky's bedroom is home to a Friends shrine, crowded with memorabilia, bags, books, T-shirts, colouring sets and Funko Pop toys.
Colouring sets?
She bought them... Yeah, colouring sets. She bought them all on Vinted, before learning that McDonald's is giving away collectibles along with a Friends meal as part of a new campaign. The limited edition meal features one of 6 collectible characters. There's also a chance to win... This is a fucking advert for McDonald's. There's also a chance to win Friends expired mugs. Fuck off. Like Nicky, Lucy Wilkinson has also been hooked on the TV show since she was a child. Oh, this is an advert for McDonald's. Fuck off. Anyway, so...
You've been hoodwinked there, Nicky, by Aberdeen Live.
I should have read the full article. It's about some woman, but she's English and she has, things that she's done for Friends. Anyway, so the story... Yeah, because the last slide is the McDonald's Friends meal will be available in restaurants until March 16th, while stocks last. I've been hoodwinked here.
Yeah.
However, I did think it was a nice story in terms of, you know, she's watching Friends every night to help her get to sleep. If you got anything, do you... What's your sleeping habits like? Do you listen to something before you go to bed, or do you have something that can send you off or anything?
So if under normal circumstances, when I go to bed, I will read for anything between 15 minutes and half an hour, depending on the time I go to bed. And I try not to look at my phone in that time. That on a normal night, that's what I would do. If I can't sleep, I might listen to At War with the Mystics by the Flaming Lips, or I might listen to Claire de Lune by Debussy, the classical piece of piano music. That probably more so than the Flaming Lips. But I do like At War with the Mystics as a kind of... I like that. It's become over the last year or so, it's become a bit of a kind of comfort album anyway. Just if I'm pottering about, I'll just stick it on. You know, it's one that I never really... I can have it in the background, or I can listen to it in the car and pay a bit more attention to it. But yeah, if I can't sleep, I can't really listen to a podcast because usually it usually captures my interest and then I'm paying attention. You know what I mean? But I'm not very good at falling asleep in front of the television unless I've had too much to drink or I'm really tired. But I certainly wouldn't put something on TV to fall asleep to. What about you?
No, I'm the same. I can't recall if I ever used to do that. I've got a funny feeling maybe I did used to fall asleep to TV shows, but nowadays, no. I couldn't do that. I mean, when I go to bed, as soon as I get in the bedroom, I plug my phone into charge and that's it. I don't touch it. And I will read, same as you, for about 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. Try and get sleep. If I can't, then and it's only in the last few months I've started doing this, and I try not to do it too regularly, is I will play sleep sounds. Apple Music, like sleep music. There's some really good playlists on Apple Music that I've found that I've started using them. But I'm trying not to do it too much, especially because I think when I got my January recap on Apple Music, one of the sleep songs was in my top 3 most played. I was like, oh, okay. Don't want to end the year on this of having top 3 is Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, and Sleep Zone sort of thing. So, so I'll probably give that I can't think. I'm sure I used to watch stuff maybe to get to sleep when I was younger, but nowadays, no. I can't sleep, in front of the TV or anything.
I mean, I remember, when I first had a television in my bedroom. So, well, not when I first did, because when I first got a TV in my room, my bedroom was right next door to my mum and my stepdad's room. So if I had it on late, they would hear and they would tell me to turn it off. But then when we moved to Aberdeenshire, my bedroom in the house that my mum and stepdad still live in, it had a sort of double door. So there was the door, there was a kind of walk-in closet cupboard, and then the bedroom door. So if both doors were shut, you couldn't really hear anything from within, and their bedroom was across the landing from mine. So I did go through probably quite a long phase of just getting into bed and not reading, because I'd always read. Ever since I started reading, I would read before I went to sleep. But I did go through a phase of not really reading much and just sticking a film on, and maybe I would fall asleep watching the film. I put on a well-loved movie that I liked. It was whatever my current obsession was at the time when I was younger. But these days, I mean, I don't have any problems. It's not often I have problems getting to sleep, even through all this that we've been had for the last couple of weeks. I've not had any problems falling asleep. My problem, and which has been for years, is sleeping right through. I always wake up, and normally I'll wake up and I'm not awake for long. But sometimes I'll wake up and it's like the brain switches on and just thoughts kind of flood in, and I'm awake for a while. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen too often, but I do wake up a lot, especially in an air-conditioned bedroom, which is all I sleep in from here. I do, if I'm back in Aberdeenshire, I will generally sleep right through. Of course, the other thing, because I'm a man of a certain age, is that sometimes the old bladder wakes me up in the night to go for a pish. Not every night, but occasionally. You know, I'll wake up at maybe 3 or 4 and have to get up and go and relieve myself.
I'm usually okay with that. I've got this weird thing, right? And, oh, fuck's sake, I can't believe this is two men in their 40s discussing this. Fuck it, I'm 45 now. I've reached that stage.
Yep.
I can't believe I'm about to say this. Right, I'll go to bed and I will read, switch out the light and stuff, and then I'm about to go to sleep. And then I don't have a big wank. I struggle to get to sleep nowadays if I was to do that.
Oh, really?
Or I do sometimes struggle after. Yeah,
Is actually you're so pleased with yourself?
Yeah, probably.
I was fucking brilliant there. Honestly, I wish there had been more people here to see that.
I have to get up and go for a final piss, and a little dribble comes out.
Yeah, I do this.
I don't need to go. I know I don't need to go. It's a mental thing.
It's a utility
and
piss.
I've said, because my girlfriend's been like, does anything, because you've just been to the toilet and you come in, you read for like 20 minutes and then you're going again. I'm like, no, I know it's mental and I know I could break it by take a few nights of just not doing it, but I'm going to have to sacrifice those few nights of like lying there thinking, I need a piss. But I don't need a piss. Do I need a piss? No, I don't need a piss. But I can't sleep now because I feel like I need a piss.
Yeah.
Why don't I just piss? No, it's the experiment. So it's not worth it. So I might as well just go and have a piss. I keep saying I am going to train myself, but I won't. I know I won't.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Exactly the same thing. Not every single night. You know, usually go up the stairs, brush my teeth, go for a piss, wash my hands, get in bed, read for half an hour. But as I'm getting toward the end of my reading time, I'm thinking, I don't know if I need to go for another piss.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe I just... But then if I don't just get up and go, I'm going to be lying here thinking, I need to go for it. Now I'll end up getting up anyway. So I might as well just get up, I might as well just get up. Might as well just get up when the light's still on, so I'm not getting up and disturbing my wife. I might as well just get up and I just go for a safety piss, even if it's just a tiny little bit. And sometimes I got to stand there for maybe 30, 40, maybe even a whole minute before anything comes out. But generally, when I get back in bed, I'm comfortable, relieved, and I can fall asleep.
Oh no, I sit down for that piss. That's all. See, but I'm a weirdo because what I'll do is I will switch off the lights and then I'll go for a piss. Because in my head, it's like, so that I come back into the room and it's dark and I could just get into bed and go to sleep. Fucking weirdo.
If you shared a bedroom with my wife, you would not switch the lights off and then get up. You would. Because that just annoys her.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any sort of movement at night. Even in those, maybe in the first few minutes of the light going out, you're just getting comfortable. You might lie on one side, you might lie on your back, you might lie on the other side. Just, every time I can sense, like from 20 years of sleeping next to her, I just sense this anger.
It's not good. Not good.
Blowing towards me across the mattress.
Oh, well. Anyway, that is an advert for McDonald's.
Yeah.
Things go from bad to worse because I was just looking at my next story that I was going to do. I know it's you next, don't worry, but I was looking at my next one and it was fine earlier, but now it's behind a paywall. Okay. Whilst I work on that, what else have you seen this week, buddy?
I mean, your last story was a bit of an advert for McDonald's and an advert for getting your prostate checked if you're a man of a certain age.
It certainly was.
A double threat. So this is another brief feature, and this is the story of the amazing Glaswegian safecracker, gentle Johnny Remensky, who is one of a bit of a legend in Scotland, certainly, especially in certain circles. So this Johnny Remensky spent more than half of his life locked behind bars, with him being the last man to be shackled inside a Scottish prison cell. But to many, he'll always be remembered as a gentleman. A safe-cracking specialist, he was as agile as he was cunning, with a healthy dose of both guts and guile. Stealing may have been his talent, but it was the hearts of the public which was this unique Monklands man's greatest treasure. Monklands is the region that Coatbridge is in, just outside of Glasgow. From criminal to commando, and then back again. Rumensky was as famous as he was infamous, loved by the public as much as he was loathed by financial institutions. He had an immense sense of nobility and courage, qualities coupled with his safe-cracking skills which would play a major role in the Allied forces securing crucial Nazi secrets as World War II raged across Europe. Born in Glenboig to Lithuanian immigrants in 1905, Rumensky lost his father at an early age, but followed in his footsteps by originally working in the local mines, where he learned how to use explosives, a skill which would prove useful, albeit illegally, in his adult years. When his mother uprooted the family to the Gorbals in Glasgow, 11-year-old Rumensky, who was then a pupil of Rutherglen Academy, soon fell into a life of crime, and it wasn't long before he found himself imprisoned when he was sent to Borstal at the age of 18. However, Rumensky was no ordinary prisoner, nor was he an ordinary criminal. He was a safecracker with a speciality for explosives. His small frame and superb agility allowed him to break into the most complex of business premises and banks, but never ever homes. The public were never a target of his daring raids. He loathed violence, offering no resistance when caught red-handed by the law, and would immediately plead guilty to the crime. Even the police tasked with stopping his one-man crime spree couldn't hide their respect for him, eventually coining the nickname Gentleman Johnny. James Binney, a former detective constable with Strathclyde Police in Govan, Glasgow, described the first of his many encounters with Rumensky. He said, "A uniformed constable called me to say he had caught a man with £100 in cash. In the early 1940s, that was a lot of money. I went to speak to this small, squat man with blue eyes who told me his name was John Ramsay for Rutherglen. He insisted money was winnings from a bookies, but I told him I didn't believe him. Then he said I'd probably known better as Johnny Rumensky and that the money came from a post office. I went to the post office in question and asked the key holder to open the safe, but he told me it was a waste of time because everything was in order. But when he opened the safe, it swung open and it was completely empty." Said we kept Johnny in custody overnight, and the next morning we discovered that he'd removed the bricks from his cell wall and had managed to get into the next cell, but unfortunately it was locked. It was Rumensky's cunning which would attract the attention of the army during World War II. Between sentences, Rumensky had married and become a father, but it wasn't long before he was back in jail, this time in the notorious Peterhead prison in the northeast of Scotland. During this spell in jail in 1934, tragedy struck when his young wife died. After being refused permission to attend the funeral by prison bosses, an enraged Rumensky made the first of 5 attempts to escape. Wearing only his underpants, Rumensky fled Peterhead and even swam across a freezing river before being discovered in Aberdeen a day later. Upon returning to the prison following his attempt at freedom, he was shackled inside his cell as punishment before MP John McGovern of Shettleston campaigned for the shackles to be removed. So he was the last man ever to be shackled inside the Scottish prison, and the first man ever to escape from Peterhead jail. It was from his prison cell in 1942, as World War II raged across Europe, that Rumensky's life took a curious turn. His prowess as a safecracker brought him to the attention of the armed forces, who offered him pardon if he used his skills to the benefit of the nation. He agreed and enlisted with the Royal Highland Fusiliers, where he was given commando training to complement his already well-honed expertise at infiltration. He became a key weapon for the Brits as part of a crack commando unit dropped behind enemy lines and breaking into Nazi strongholds to steal important German documents. During the war in Italy, he famously blew open the safes of 14 foreign embassies all in one day, which earned him a military Medal of Honour. Dennis Whitcomb, a Welshman who was part of Rumensky's unit, said he was the bravest man I've ever met. He was one of our number, a pleasant bloke. You would never have guessed he was one of the most notorious safebreakers of British history. From time to time, he would disappear for several days. Most of the time, we didn't know precisely what he'd been asked to do, although it wasn't hard to catch the general drift of things. They called him a gentleman, and so he was, but he was a hero too. However, Rumensky's criminal past may have been hard to shake off as he infiltrated the German strongholds. While successfully obtaining key documents, there are claims that he also helped himself to some Nazi treasures. Rumours persist that some of the loot plundered by Rumensky from the Nazis was stored in a Royal Navy supply depot in Carfin. Sonny Leach, a famous underworld figure known as the Sawton Harrier, for his repeated attempts at breaking out of Edinburgh jail, gave credence to the claims. When serving as a soldier, Leach was asked to clear out a cell in Shepton Mallet military prison, and in there he stumbled across a stash of boxes which aroused his curiosity. Opening them, he found artwork believed to be portraits of Hitler and other Nazi figures, and a hoard of ammunition boxes that he couldn't unlock. Years later, whilst raiding a Royal Navy supply depot in Carfin, Leach claims him and his gang came across the same ammunition boxes that he'd spotted in Shepton Mallet, and he found a treasure trove of jewellery and gold before being arrested by the police. Robert Jeffrey, the author of a book about Rumensky, said it's rumoured that the statues and other valuable objects had been taken from Rome near the end of the war to stop them being looted and taken back to Germany by the Nazis. The end of the war also brought with it a new stage of Rumensky's life. From crack commando to civilian seemed a different transition for the 40-year-old. It wasn't too long before his old habits began to kick in. It seemed his compulsion to break into whatever he could was not quelled by his dangerous feats in the armed forces, and he flitted in and out of jail until in November 1955 he was hit with a 10-year preventative detention at Peterhead Prison. 2 years of good behaviour brought no reward, and he responded the only way he knew how, by escaping again from Peterhead Jail. His attempts at freedom were more protests against the prison authorities. Each time he escaped, he would be recaptured in the hope that his civil liberties would be returned. In all, he escaped from Peterhead Prison 5 times during his criminal career, 3 of those attempts in 1958. Soon after beginning a sentence at Barlinnie, Rumensky threw off his boots in the exercise yard and scaled the wall using the cracks in the mortar as toeholds. He reached the roof but could get no further, but the wardens couldn't get him down either. He demanded to see the chief of prisons as a large crowd gathered outside Barlinnie's wall to watch the drama unfold. He eventually came down after 5 hours because it got too cold. So yeah, what a character.
My God.
I
had no idea.
I'm surprised no one's made maybe like a movie or something about him, you know?
Yeah, I really had no idea about all of that. It's an incredible story. What a gentleman safecracker. I wonder if he ever found a safe that was full of porn and condoms or anything
at the bottom of a river. Was it the bottom of a river? It was, wasn't it? Someone got out of the Leaf, the river in Leaf.
Yeah, it was in a river, yeah.
But
yeah, that's an amazing story. You're right. It should be like a book, like a film or a TV series about him. It's a cracking little tale.
Yep. So that's old Johnny Rumensky. There is a book by Robert Jeffrey if anybody is interested to read more. For some reason, the article doesn't mention what happened toward the end of his life and when he passed away, and it didn't occur to me to do any further research, so if you want to know, you'll have to do your own fucking research. But yeah, I'm sure a very interesting character. Anyway, that's my second and final story for this episode. What's your next one?
My second story, I found this bizarre, the headline, but you know what? It's for a good cause and it's lovely, so I'm going to do this. Renfrewshire Council, this is from the National. The original one was from the Herald. It's gone behind a paywall now, so I've gone to the National. Renfrewshire Council declares annual Dolly Parton Day. A Scottish council will celebrate a musical icon and literacy advocate after formally declaring a Dolly Day should be marked on an annual basis. Renfrewshire Council Provost Lorraine Cameron put forward a motion in last week's full council meeting paying tribute to Dolly Parton following her 80th birthday in January. It recognises the impact the Queen of Country has had beyond music as the founder of her Imagination Library, a world-renowned book gifting programme. The local authority offers children aged 2 to 5 years old a free, high-quality, age-appropriate book each month through the initiative. Provost Cameron, an SNP representative for Paisley South West, said on Thursday's meeting, "It gives me enormous pleasure to speak in support of this motion to declare an annual Dolly Day in recognition of the 80th birthday of Dolly Parton. Not just her birthday, but more importantly, a celebration of the extraordinary impact that her Imagination Library has had in our pre-5 settings here in Renfrewshire. Now, Dolly Parton may be a global superstar, a bigger superstar than any of us, a singer-songwriter, philanthropist, and she's on course for a cultural... Oh, and she's of course a cultural icon. Sorry, philanthropist always... pulls me up because it reminds me of that Always Sunny when Charlie says that he gives to charity, that he's a full-on rapist. The motion which received unanimous backing across the Renfrewshire, resolved to use Dolly Day as an opportunity to celebrate reading, imagination and learning, as well as promoting the benefits of the Imagination Library to families in the area. It encouraged schools, early year settings, libraries and community organisations to participate in age-appropriate celebrations and activities which highlight the importance of books, storytelling and imagination. Councillor Jim Patterson, an SNP representative who seconded the motion, said, "For me, Dolly Day is not just about celebrating her birthday, although that's an extremely important milestone for her personally. It's also about highlighting what I think is a model of leadership, and she's demonstrated that is rooted in community and opportunity for giving practical help to those vulnerable." So they want to have a Dolly Day every year, but it's not just about Dolly, it's about books for kids, which I think is a wonderful initiative. We were just speaking earlier about reading, you know. I think it's a wonderful little initiative because I don't know if do kids read as much, you know, that's the thing. Is that one of those things? I don't think books will ever die, but it's important, I think, that kids read and people read.
My oldest daughter has never been much of a reader, you know, like she's... Yeah, I don't know. It's just the way her brain works. She just, you know, she's read books and stuff, but she's not like she doesn't read like we read, or we read when we were her age. My younger daughter, however, is a pretty voracious reader. Yeah, she's and she's sort of the way that she's going at it is she feels compelled to read to get through classics. You know what I mean? So she's been reading a lot of the sort of Jane Austen stuff and Little Women and that kind of thing. But she also likes she read all the Harry Potter books recently. She enjoyed them. She's been reading like Twilight and stuff like that. So she's got a foot in the sort of perhaps expected camp for a 15-year-old girl, but she's also a bit of a clever clogs as well, reading the hard books.
You introduced her to the world of Irvine Welsh.
Yeah, that's not her jam, Irvine Welsh.
No.
My oldest daughter's my oldest daughter, she tried to read Trainspotting, actually. I saw it sat on her bedside table for a long time, but I don't think she got. I'd be surprised if she got even halfway through the first chapter. She's seen the film, but she wanted to read the book because I let her see the film a couple of years ago. You know? What's your favourite Dolly Parton song?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to go with Jolene, probably, the obvious one, I guess. I don't know. Maybe Islands in the Stream. Yeah, Kenny Rogers, yeah.
I like Islands in the Stream. And, probably. You know, for all my sins, I like 9 to 5. I think it's fucking great.
It's a great song. Yeah.
I've seen myself compelled towards many a dance floor in my youth, fueled by cheap lager and a raging horn when I've heard the opening bars of 9 to 5 come across the nightclub speakers.
Is that because you know it's a song that will get all the ladies up? So you're like, yes, here's my chance.
Well, that was exactly why. But I also like the song as well. But it's a banger. 9 to 5. Yeah. I don't really get what the whole Dolly Parton connection is with getting people to read, though, is getting kids to read. You know?
She set up this foundation.
I see.
The Dolly Imagination Library. So it's her. It's her idea. And they've just taken it on board and then they're going to run with it. So they want to have a Dolly Day. So yeah, it's her. It's like Richard and Judy's book club, but Dolly Parton's done it on a massive scale of actually donating the books.
Yeah.
Not just recommending. I can't believe I've just compared it to Richard and Judy's book club.
I think Oprah Winfrey did a book club as well, didn't she? She had like a book of the week or something when she was in the telly.
Yeah, I think probably Richard and Judy nicked it off her.
Yeah.
She was just like Richard when he was nicking booze out of the supermarket.
Yeah, by accident. Oprah recommending books when she wasn't allegedly indulging in cannibalism in Jeffrey Epstein's private island. Allegedly.
Okay. Right. Have you seen anything else this week, Greg?
No. I will just say one last thing on Dolly Parton. She seems like for all her success and all her business ventures and her music and stuff, she seems like a right down to earth, all round good one, doesn't she? When you see her being interviewed and everything, doesn't take herself too seriously, and I think she really understands where she sits in the kind of cultural pantheon, because you can sometimes get people who are completely unaware, like I was watching, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but maybe it speaks to the sort of thing that I follow on Instagram, but a video of Michael Barrymore doing the Backstreet Boys on his Barrymore show came on the other day. And the thing is, right, if I was showing it to my daughter, she'd be like, oh, this guy's sending up the Backstreet Boys. But he wasn't. He took it really, really, really seriously. He thought he was the absolute dog's bollocks. And of course, it's a studio audience is clapping for him and just egging him on. He's taking his jacket off and he's throwing it into the crowd and all that kind of thing. He did the other one. He did one as well where he had a choir. What was the song?
I'll see
I'll see you
when you get there.
Yeah, that was it. What a silly man. But Dolly's just, she's well aware of, how she is probably perceived and everything. And she's down to earth, but crucially, a young homosexual man didn't drown in our swimming pool, I suppose. So
that's very true, Greg. Very true. I think, Dolly has always struck me as a very good egg, and seems to, exactly as you say, doesn't take herself too seriously. She knows, her role, and she just seems like a good laugh. So I think, I'm a big fan of the Dolly. So good on Dolly.
She's going to be 80 years old. That's amazing.
I think she is 80.
She is 80,
I think it was January.
Wow.
It was her 80th birthday. So very good.
Good for Dolly.
There we go. Good for Dolly. Okay, right. Well, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsors.
Give yourself a big treat. A trip to the famous Glasgow bars. Treat the whole family. It was always great, and now it's better than ever. Talk about bargains, talk about choice, talk about entertainment. You'll be talking about it for weeks. The bars are better.
Okay, Greg, so it was your choice on the podcast this episode. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
So this week, I am taking us back to the late 1990s, or more specifically Scotland in the late 1990s, where cigarettes were evidently much more affordable. Everybody seemed to smoke, and the shadow and influence of Danny Boyle's Train Spotting was still, even 3 years on, making its influence felt. So I picked the 6-part television drama series Psychos, which was made by Channel 4. It stars Douglas Henshall and Neve McIntosh, Alexander Mackenzie, Alison Peebles, Indriana Varma, Jenny McCrindle, Elaine Collins, and a whole host of Swally favourite guest stars across the 6 episodes. If you haven't seen it or you want to see it before we talk about it, all 6 episodes are on YouTube. Quality is not brilliant, but it is watchable. So press stop, go on YouTube and then come back. It tells a story of a team of doctors working at a psychiatric hospital outside Scotland. Main character is Dr. Daniel Nash, played by Douglas Henshall, who, as well as being a psychiatric doctor, also has a lot of psychiatric challenges of his own to deal with whilst attempting to treat his patients. So I can remember this being broadcast. I have to say, for whatever reason, I never ever watched it. I didn't really know much about what it was about, other than it was set in a psychiatric hospital. It ran afoul of Ofcom for the way that it was seen to be portraying psychiatric patients at the time. And as a result, it never ever got a second series. The series does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, I would say, but we never ever got a chance to see what happened to the characters. How about you? Did you watch this when it first came out? Do you remember any of it?
No, I don't, and I can't work out how or why. I don't remember.
Too busy out living in your glory years, mate.
Well, I was trying to work I was trying to work this out and I couldn't. I mean, I should also say it is available on, if you're in the UK, it's available on Channel 4.
Oh, yes. All 4,
their
right? Yeah.
streaming service. Yeah. So it is available on that in high quality. I don't remember this show and I can't work out why. I looked up, so it was like May, June, Thursday night, 1999. What the fuck was I doing? I reckon I worked on a Thursday night in that time. I'm pretty sure I did. So I was probably working at Daytona around about that time, I guess. I don't know. And I don't know why I would have missed it, because I very much did tape stuff when I was working, and I would watch it when I got home from work. Like a Friday night, I always taped stuff. Thursday night, I can't work out. I mean, Thursday night was Sopranos, but this would have been on when the Sopranos wasn't on.
Yeah.
It was on 9 o'clock.
Channel 4.
Sopranos was on, so it was the Sopranos slot. I've no idea. I can only presume there was something else, maybe. Thursday night, BBC 2 often had good comedy stuff on a Thursday, maybe. I can't work out. Anyway, I digress. This first time that I remember properly watching this show. Fucking hell, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming. It's pretty anxiety inducing. It's not like an episode of Casualty, is it?
No.
I enjoyed the show. It took a while to get into it. I mean, you've touched upon there. It's just, I miss the 90s, you know? Like, I know it's 99, but still, it's just dripping with 90s. The clothes, the smoking,
the music,
casual attitude to booze, music, the sex. It's just a classic 90s show. It reminded me a lot of This Life, which ran from 96, 97. I know we've spoken about. I love this. And that's about, of course, a group of law graduates sharing a house. This kind of similar, they're all contained in the hospital for the most part, but there was definitely an element that reminded me of it. Look, I did enjoy this show. It's a mess in places, though. It's a real mess. And I do think they've left themselves some room because they were thinking, we'll do this in the second series.
Yeah.
There's a couple of storylines in particular that don't get resolved or don't get quite explored.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they thought, we'll go into this a bit more in the second series, which of course never happened, as you've said, because of the Ofcom investigation. I do have a few gripes and frustrations about where it wanted to go, but didn't. But overall, I did enjoy watching this and I was engaged. The characters, some infuriated me, some delighted me. Overall, it's a good watch and it's funny in places and horrific in places too.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that struck me about this, over the last kind of few months, it sort of occurred to me that there's so much new stuff in the TV, and I hadn't really watched anything new. And my wife and I, we don't often sit down and watch any sort of drama together. So at the beginning of the year, I thought, right, I'm going to get through some of the programs that I've been meaning to watch for ages. So like I've been through Yellowstone, I've been through 1000 Belows, House of Guinness, one or two other bits and bobs. And what struck me about watching this is that those shows that I've just mentioned, they're on streaming services. Like, so Yellowstone is on Netflix here, for example. 1000 Belows is on Disney Plus here. And 1000 Belows was made for Disney Plus. House of Guinness was made for Netflix. So the way that they're made, they're sort of designed quite cleverly. So you can watch an episode and then turn the TV off and go to something else or watch something else. Or, which I think a lot of people do, you can do a few episodes. And it's sort of fine, it's kind of like watching like a long film. Because of what's been going on here, I was a bit behind in watching this. So yesterday I had to watch, I think, 3 episodes in a row. And I found it really difficult. Now, and that's not me criticising the show, because I enjoyed a lot of this. You know what I mean? There's some of the humour in it is great. The cast are good. Douglas Henshall is a bit much at times, but I think this was him in his kind of manic character era anyway. But I thought the show was great. I liked the characters and everything, but I found watching a few episodes back to back quite exhausting. You know what I mean? And toward the end of the last episode I watched, I was just like, I just want to stop watching this now. I want to stop watching this and not think about it for a while. So I didn't get around to watching the last episode until this morning. And the last episode I thought was good. I thought it was one of the stronger episodes. And Apart from the fact that, you know, well, some of the stuff that happens, I thought it was a pretty strong episode, you know. But I think it's interesting that, you know, this was broadcast in the 1990s before we had streamers and everything, and series were written to be shown weekly. You know, like a drama series like this would be written to be shown weekly. It wasn't really written. No one was writing it thinking, well, somebody might go out and buy a box set of this and burn through it, or they might be able to download it and watch it on a streaming service in the future. It's very episodic, and they wrap a lot of the storylines up at the end of each episode. You know what I mean? Like the one with the baby, for example, with the McIntosh is kind of wrapped up. You know, it's not the one with the Motherwell fan. The second episode with the Motherwell fan, it's, you know, tragically, but it's wrapped up at the end of the episode. And there's a few really, it's just the kind of Nash and Miller and Shug's storylines are the ones that kind of keep going through it and their various challenges. It's interesting, I think. Yeah,
there's only a couple of patients that you kind of see throughout. There's the kind of the regulars, but then like Luke, for example, played by like Ian Robertson, he's in, you know, there's an episode with him and then he's there in the next episode kind of thing. And it's like, okay, but generally the main kind of patient of that episode either gets discharged or, you know, is never spoken about again. Like I think in the first episode, for example, for Billy doesn't appear again in the series, does he? Like they just let him out, his house gets fucking firebombed, and then it's like, all right, see you, Billy. Yeah. And nothing happens there. I do think you're right, and it threw me a little bit watching it. I was quite similar to you. I watched the first few episodes like individually and was like, okay. Then I had a busy week and I was kind of panicking, and I ended up watching the last 3 episodes back to back.
Right.
And it was a lot.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me the next morning to say, can we maybe do the podcast next week? Yeah. I was like, oh, you fucking bastard. Like, I've just drained my soul. And I was kind of like, yeah, I'm happy with that, because I still had to type up my notes. Like I'd watched it scribbling down. It was a lot to watch those 3 kind of back to back, because it is and they're only 38 minutes long. It's not that bad in terms of when you're watching it. I did find it quite amusing. Something you don't see a lot of nowadays is the next time Psychos. And you're like, oh wow, okay. Like you don't see that popping up. No. Like what's going to happen next? Because, as you say, most shows now are built for streaming. Yeah. And you can just watch. And it does feel, you do feel a little disappointed sometimes. Like I usually wait for a show to come out before I'm watching, but at the moment I'm watching the latest series of Shrinking. And we caught up, and now I'm having to wait for every Wednesday to watch the next episode of Shrinking. Yeah. Kind of takes you out of it a bit because you want to see the next episode. Yeah. But for something like this, it did work. But you're right. It's nice to see a show that is kind of episodic. Yeah. And things kind of get wrapped up, kind of don't. But there's enough there. Every episode kind of ends on something that you're going to want to watch the next one.
I kind of get the feeling that it's been conceived as something that's going to have a few series, like you mentioned earlier. You know, Nash is going to have an arc. We're going to find out more about his relationship with his sister and more about his struggles with mental health, and you know, and the whole sort of will they won't they thing between Nash and Dr. Miller, played by Neve McIntosh, you know, like that sort of antagonistic, but they like each other really, and are they maybe falling in love kind of thing. You know, I kind of get the feeling that you know, it was expected that this would be around for quite a while, you know, maybe a few years. But I mean, I think in the early episodes, Nash is it's difficult, you know. You kind of feel a bit tense when he's on the screen. You know what I mean? You know, it's a bit of a relief when we're with like Alison Peebles' character, or you know, Elaine Collins' character, or Jenny McCrindle, or whoever. You know what I mean? But like especially the scenes when he's by himself. I mean, this would have come out around about the same time as Orphans, maybe like a year after Orphans. You know, and his character in Orphans, there's a little bit of Nash in that character at times. You know what I mean? When he's trying to get to his work and claim pretend that he's been injured at work to get the compensation and all that sort of stuff. You know, I think Douglas Henshall has become a more rounded, watchable actor in the years since. I think he's. And I know he's a young actor and the part asks for this manic energy, but it's, you know, it's a bit exhausting, you know? Right? And there are moments when he's really funny, like when he's in the bath listening to the Celtic game with his Celtic scarf on. I laughed out loud at that bit, you know what I mean? When he's sitting listening to the radio with his Celtic scarf on in the bath. That was really funny.
I think the character, he is a bit much at times. I do think Henshall was a little bit like that at this time. And I do think there's a little bit, I think he is still a bit of a cantankerous old guy, Henshall. Like some of the things I've read, you know, about his departure from Shetland and some of the stuff he said. I think there was an interview with him before this aired and before it came out. I read a review, a preview of it. I think it was in The Guardian in 1999. And it spoke with Henshall, and they'd asked him about the title's quite provocative. And he said, if people are angry because of the subject matter, then fuck them. Good. I hope it really annoys them. People have jumped at the title without even asking what the series is about. He then accused critics of doing exactly the same thing as they're accusing us of, reinforcing the stereotypes by jumping on the words psycho and schizo. So you could tell he was quite angry about some of the coverage that this might have received, and people were rightly up in arms about the show Psychos, but it's not about the patients, it's about the doctors. Yeah. I think in terms of the character in Nash, you kind of, he's a lot. You kind of immediately get the measure of him that, he doesn't want to medicate his patients despite being heavily medicated himself. He wants to try different approaches. He's kind and nice. You think, well, Billy, it's only Nash that Billy will speak to and offers him fags, takes Colin to the football. Like, he genuinely cares for his patients, you think. Maybe too much in terms of sleeping with one of them. But it costs the patient. Yeah. His methods. Nothing's working out well for the people that he's treating. Like, I'd written, like, are we meant to like Nash? Like, he's a very troubled individual, and I get that, but he's not a likeable character. Is it because he's trying to be fun and a cheeky chappy, but says what's on his mind? Are we meant to like him for his wacky dress sense and his different methods? But he's a bit of a cock.
He is. And I think, if you think about drama at the time, like it was all about the kind of anti-hero, wasn't it? Like you mentioned The Sopranos before, right? Tony Soprano was a villain. He's a murderer. He's cheating on his wife. He's a gangster, and yet we root for him. But we find ourselves rooting for him. The characters in Trainspotting are all dysfunctional, unpleasant in ways. But we at least root for Renton. We root for Spud. It just seemed to be the way of it at the time. It was like presenting these kind of flawed individuals, and I don't know, maybe it was a reflection. Maybe it was a reflection of society in the UK at that time. I don't know, or just society in general. But I don't know, because there are times when I do like him. There, like I just mentioned, there's moments, there's the moments when he manages to reach his patients, like what's the girl called that he's trying to get to, the one that's self-harming, that he's trying to get to hit the punch bag, and he talks to about his sister. Those are good scenes for him.
Moira,
yeah. You do get the feeling, and when he sleeps with the patient, he's having a manic episode. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's not taking his lithium, his bastard lithium. He's making he doesn't want to be medicated because he feels that he doesn't want his outlook or his senses to be dulled, because he obviously feels that if he's going to be a good doctor to these psychiatric patients that he's treating, that he needs to have all these faculties about him. He can't afford to dull any of them in case he ends up making a mistake. Now, of course, the irony is he does end up making a mistake with George, the Motherwell fan at the beginning, right? Is it George? No, it's not George. What's his name? Colin, sorry. He does make a mistake.
Yeah.
He does make a mistake with Colin. He thinks he's reached him. He thinks that he's gone off to live with his sister and he's going to be all right, and he's not. You know what I mean? And he takes it terribly, Nash. Where he's at his most unlikable was when he antagonises Kate for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that she's from Edinburgh and he's from Glasgow. And, we sort of realise that, he's antagonising her because actually he likes her. And he obviously doesn't know how to speak to somebody that he likes, and, he just has to be horrible to her. And that becomes a bit boring, really. And I think the reason that I enjoyed the last episode is because it kind of comes to an end and they get on. When she passes her exam and everything, and he's just genuinely good to her, but congratulates her on passing her exam, pokes fun at her a wee bit, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was immediately evident something's going on between them. I'd written down about 10 minutes in the first episode, right? When are they going to start shagging? And thankfully, it didn't happen, but there's just the constant, you know it's coming. They have this huge friction, and, it's a great part of the first episode where, she has a go at him and he lets rip back.
Now, I have just about had it up to my eyeballs with your kind of attitude, Kate. I mean, I really have, and actually once I've ripped my eyeballs out and held them above my head.
Is this all about Billy? Is that it?
You and Harvey, you're going to make a lovely couple because, he knows your daddy, and that's really Beezer. And, maybe you could go over there in Boxing Day. Maybe Billy could come over and throw a fit for you for charades, and you can all go, oh, one flew over the cuckoo's nest, oh, more turkey.
I feel sorry for Billy, I really do. But this is not a hotel, and we are not Kingsley Sodding Hall. This is an acute ward for acute patients, and if this was my ward...
Which it isn't, by the way.
He would become medicated and out on his ear.
He does not need medication.
Do you know something else? So would you.
But you're right, there is the little digs. And it's almost like a playground, when he's talking, it's right, it's about Edinburgh, and about, Casper and the bottled beer, and, how about everyone in Edinburgh is posh and everything like that. And it's like, well, come on, you're obviously not doing too badly for yourself in terms of that. Come on, where are you getting off on that? I did wonder, it seemed a bit, there was some stuff that did carry through quite well. So I had written down, bemused as to what the fuck's going on here when he's asking Kate about a passion and she's struggling to come up with a passion. Then she says, The Cure. And then he's testing her on Cure songs and trying to catch her out. And I'm like, what's that about? I didn't realise that then, of course, in episode 5, when he's in the bath and she calls him but never says anything, that he hears The Cure playing in the background and knows that she's calling him. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay, that makes sense. The thing though, the whole thing with these flowers that Kate got, did Nash send them? I know he says when he's having his episode, about your flowers, but that could just be something he said. The whole of the ward is speaking about who sent her these flowers. Yeah. So did he send them to her? That's never cleared up. If he did he send them because he wanted to buy her flowers? Did he send them because he was just trying to fuck with her head? Would that have been revealed in series 2, maybe? But that was something that just felt unresolved for me. And I don't really give a fuck who sent her the flowers. I was hoping it would be someone funny. But did he send them? Tell me.
I don't know. I guess we're supposed to believe that he did. Or maybe we'll just one of the great mysteries. We'll never know if he ever did. We'll never know if they found Scamp.
He, hopefully. I mean, that was probably my favourite part when Scamp was ripping the piss bag out of the guys, ripped his catheter out. That was fucking brilliant. Nash commits kind of the biggest thing he could do. He sleeps with one of his patients, and he is in the full ramp of a kind of psychotic kind of episode at that time. He goes and buys a rabbit and then goes and sleeps with her in the toilet of her bar, and then he wakes up with the rabbit still. So I don't know what happened.
That's funny. You're not my wife. No, he says he's doing the talking heads, isn't he? This is not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful home.
Was the sex with her so good that it snapped him out of it? Because he does then kind of go on the straight and narrow after that. And it is a different Nash after. Yes, he starts taking his bastard lithium again properly. But the tell-off, that's fair enough. But he does seem to be a lot... Okay, yes, it's the medication, but just in general, he does seem to be a lot better after that.
Yeah, well, I think so.
And does that scare him?
Well, I kind of get the feeling that... Because in that episode, we kind of realise that him and Anne, played by Alison Peebles, there's a relationship there. You know what I mean? So it feels like she knows more about his mental health challenges than anybody else in the hospital, you know? Because she's the one that comes round the next day, finds him, and his house is a mess. He's got his rabbit. And, you know, she kind of looks after him. You know what I mean? And she's the one that tells him not to come back into work. You know, she sends him home and she covers for him, says he's got the flu. You know, so as far as Kate's concerned, he's had this fever that's made him act the way that he's acted. So that day when he's dancing to Tom Jones with all the staff and with all the patients rather and everything. So you kind of get the feeling that this has happened before to him. You know, like he's had these episodes before, and because he kind of when he's talking to Peter Capaldi's character, and he's like, you know, like you kind of wake up in the wreckage of all your friendships and relationships, and you've got no idea what happened. You know, so he's speaking from experience. He's speaking from when he's had these episodes, I think, and because when Peter Capaldi's character is trying to work out if he's mad or not, you know, by talking to the doctor. So yeah, I kind of get the feeling and that's why I think they probably would have, had they done more series, kind of explored that more, you know.
I think they are among the strongest scenes in the 6 parts, and the scenes with Capaldi and Henshall.
Yeah.
Just having the
really good
conversations over the table. And, you know, is it because obviously it's 2 heavyweight actors having it, but though they feel like real scenes, and I want more of them. They were my favorite parts, kind of those 2 butting heads, and it was more of like, okay, this is good. We're heading in a good direction here.
Yeah.
But obviously,
well, I wonder if Capaldi would have seen more of him in subsequent series if they'd made them, you know? Like, because I can't imagine you just get even in 1998, you don't get Peter Capaldi in for 1 episode, you know what I mean? You might get, like, Jake Darcy in for 1 or 2 episodes, or even Larry McIntosh in those days, you know? But you wouldn't get Capaldi in for 1 episode in the late 90s. Definitely not. So I wonder, because, you know, sometimes with series, they'll maybe introduce a new character in the last episode, so you can't wait to tune into the next series when it comes out. I wonder if that was maybe part of the strategy of bringing Capaldi in for that one.
Or was it just that he's just doing his wife a favour? He was visiting her on set.
Possibly,
I'll do a day or 2. Why not?
Maybe.
Don't know.
I had a dream last night where a Fibonacci sequence comes up on the lottery and 9,000 maths professors have to split the jackpot. There's nearly a riot.
So you are sleeping a bit?
It was more of a daydream. At night, I was working. Sleep's for wimps.
Yeah, and breathing's for pansies.
Look, Dr. Nash, I'm not saying my lifestyle's run of the mill, but it gets me where I want to go.
And, where's that?
To the solution. When I climb those peaks, I get to see what others can't. I get insight, Doctor. I can see over the fence, down into the valley. I can see the answers. In my line of work, that's a real blessing.
There are a lot. I mean, obviously, you got Kate's character. I mean, she is just a kind of junior doctor who's navigating away, getting pissed off with Nash. I mean, I thought a great performance from Neve McIntosh.
Yeah.
She is great as Kate Miller, and I do really like the character of Kate. She can hold her own. She kind of speaks her mind. She sticks up for herself. She knows what she's doing. She's ultimately responsible for Nash getting stabbed at the end, though. Unfortunately, just by a chain of events, because she doesn't like her boyfriend Ian anymore. And, you know, that's the whole reason. She doesn't want to be with him. So when she moves to Glasgow, she says that she can't go out and celebrate with him because she's on call. But it's actually Shug that's on call.
Yeah.
So she swaps with Shug. Shug goes home, finds out that his wife, Jill, his partner, is sleeping with someone else, sends him in a downward spiral, fails his exams, and then goes mental and then stabs Nash. So it's kind of Kate's fault at the end of the day.
It's a bit of a shame, really, for her. But then you've got that good turn by Tam Dean Byrne as Jed, who's he's one that's getting. He's trying to get everybody riled up. He's trying to make some violence happen, right? Because he's obviously addicted to violence, a la Begbie,
Yeah, completely is. Her relationship with her boyfriend Ian, it's just very bizarre, and she just doesn't seem that interested. But like, it's so obvious she's avoiding him, and then he proposes out of the blue. In the last episode. And the alarm goes off and she rushes off and he waits for her just to make a shitty parting line to her of, "You're a psychiatrist, get a mirror." And then drives off. And it's like, wait a minute, there was an alarm. Did you not hear that? Like, her boss has been stabbed.
Yeah.
There's been some kind of emergency. She's been avoiding you for obviously like a couple of weeks now. And now that she's gone to deal with this, now you're getting a hint and being a cock and driving off. Like, very strange character. And what was going on with him and Karen as well?
Well, maybe
there was something there.
Maybe they were sowing the seeds of some more drama in the second series. What I think is interesting about this, because like obviously now mental health, generally speaking, it's a big subject, right? It's spoken about all over social media, and I think that we understand a lot more about it, and I actually think that the sort of mental health element of this, although the name of the show is a little insensitive through the modern prism, to put it mildly, I don't think that it's particular. I never feel like it makes fun of any of the patients. It might, maybe some of the kind of eccentricity is made light of a wee bit. There's one particular line that I liked with the two guys who both think they're the Messiah, and
yes.
Nash says, "Well, nobody likes to find out they're not the Great Redeemer," which made me laugh. But it's never cruel, and I actually think that through a kind of modern prism, the kind of mental health element is managed quite sensitively, really, considering it's almost 30 years old.
Yeah, you're right. The only time that it maybe isn't is in the first episode, and it's when they're all sitting round doing their ward round discussing the patients. Sometimes they are laughing at the patient, but in particular it is Barry Dixon, who you think is fine, and he keeps saying he's fine, and then they get him in front of everyone, and then he proclaims he's the king. And something's coming, but they're all kind of laughing at him. That was the only time for me that I thought it was maybe a little bit like, oh, okay.
Good morning, Mr. Dixon. Thank you for coming to see us like this. Lovely socks, Mr. Dixon. Beautiful colour.
Well, purple is the colour, after all.
The colour?
Of course.
Of course. And the pattern there?
Again, the crown. Of course.
Of course. So, can you tell me why you wear these socks, Mr. Dixon? These particular socks?
Well, it makes sense.
And why is that?
Because I'm the rightful King of England.
I see.
That bitch is living in my palace. And once I'm out of here, she's out the door.
But you're right. Everything else is dealt with pretty well and sympathetic to what their cause is, and it's stuff that could be quite funny or to poke fun at. Let's take Luke, for example, played by Ian Robertson. Like, he's been swallowing gold and jewelry to try and combat the mercury that his mum's been poisoning him with in his head. And the only sort of comical bit about that is that they're trying to get him to shite out the jewellery so they can get the rings back. In terms of his plight, it's not made fun of. It's dealt with in a sympathetic manner. Yeah. And they're really saying that, the parents, you need to get on for him in order for his recovery. And I think it is dealt with, really well. You're right in terms of that. There's no fun to be poked at. The humour comes at different elements.
Yeah, I think so. And even like the one with Barry, it's sort of, as much as they're having a bit of a chuckle at him thinking that he's the king of England, it's kind of more to put Dr. Nicole in her place a wee bit, because he's got her convinced that he shouldn't be there, and he's absolutely fine, and he's, and all that kind of thing, and she's kind of advocating for him. And the only thing is, why would they not just say, well, no, the reason is because he thinks that he's like the king, like literally. Yeah. But they don't say that. They kind of let her look foolish in his hearing, which, you know, I mean, it is kind of poking fun a bit at Barry, but I think it's more so that it's to put her in her place, you know.
I wondered about her character as well, Martine, played by Indira Varma. Bizarrely, you know, she popped up in Coldwater, and here she is, you know, 30 years ago in... 30 years ago? No, not 30 years
nearly
ago.
It's still far off.
Nearly 30 years, yeah, not far off, yeah. If young Nicky had watched this, he would have been very taken with her in this show, let me tell you that. There's a part of her character that just... I presume they were saving it for the second series as well. Yeah. I don't know. Seems to go unexplored about something's happened to her that they don't go into because she is like kind of scared of men in a way. Like she kind of doesn't go on that date with Jamie Sives because she gets scared when the guy comes to the door. Yeah. Then when she's kind of rekindling with her ex Ben, there's the scene where they're together and she says she can't because she doesn't want to sleep with him, and he kind of is like, oh, you know, again, and storms off. So there's something, you know, something's happened to her that she has intimacy issues. But again, were they going to explore that in the next series? Who knows? Because that felt like an unresolved kind of thing. Yeah, maybe. I mean, she does look really young in this, I have to say. You know, maybe it's because of, you know, we've just been watching her in Coldwater, but she seems like she's 20 or something. But I like her, but Alastair Mackenzie does have that sort of Scottish, Englishy, Edinburgh type accent for some, even though he was born in Perth, I'm not sure why. And so she's the only like English character in a very Scottish environment, and she holds her own, I would say. Oh yeah, because I kind of thought, well, I wonder if she's in this to be the kind of put upon, especially after that first episode, is she the one that she's going to kind of put upon English doctor working in Scotland or something? And to their credit, they don't really do that. You know, she has the scene with Stephen Duffy, a bit of a Small Faces reunion, because he pops up in the same episode and indeed the same first scene as Ian Robertson. And they play brothers in Small Faces. And she kind of holds her own against these really, especially Nash, and who's, you know, like Henshall plays him a very Glaswegian kind of character, you know, even down to that horrible fucking late 90s Celtic strip. The big baggy one with the V-neck. I know, well, I'm not, I mean, you know, I'm not saying because it's Celtic. A lot of jerseys, that was the style of the jersey at the time. It was not my favourite era of football jersey, I must be honest with you. No. But he plays him, you know, and she holds her own. Like, she's a good character. Really good character. And, you know, and I think the scenes when she's practicing her medicine, she's particularly good, you know? Yeah, no, I really liked her character. I really did. And I was really hoping that she was going to go out on a date with Jamie Sives, because I was like, oh, this will be good. But no, just she didn't actually go. Stood him up. Yeah. But yeah, I really liked her, and I really liked the character, and I thought that she fit in well with the dynamic of the doctors. I mean, I don't think anyone was out of place. Even Mariko and Jim, which was another strange storyline that was just popping up throughout the time. Mariko with a kind of... she just kind of started, and then turns out her and Jim are having a little romantic dalliance. She's pregnant. It's not Jim's. Yeah. But he's still there. Like, again, I guess they were going to explore that in series 2. Who knows? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's just where there was a bit too much going on by that point. You know what I mean? Like, and I suppose if you think about, probably in terms of a sort of the kind of set in the ensemble type of drama, probably the closest thing you mentioned earlier would be something like Casualty, where you have the sort of the hospital team made up of doctors, nurses, administrators, etc., and the patients come and go, but the stories, the ongoing stories are about the main characters. So, you know, I think that this was kind of similar. And if it was something like Casualty, which was a really long running, and I think Casualty's still on, in fact, isn't it?
Is it still on
I
Casualty?
don't know. I've got a funny feeling it ended recently, or did it? Or was that Holby City? Casualty maybe still is on the go.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
And so like you had time to a lot of those characters became almost revered in the way that some soap opera characters are revered, like Charlie, for example.
Yeah.
And he was in Casualty for the longest of all the main characters. Or Megan, the Irish nurse, played by Brenda Fricker, is it? She was in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Who's the homeless lady. So maybe if this had time to run, we might have cared a little bit more about Jim and Moriko's story. But, as you're kind of just like, well, I know it's only one series, and I kind of feel like I just need to get back to what's going on with Dr. Nash and Dr. Miller and all that, rather than get kind of bogged down by these kind of secondary characters. I think the characters that really hold their own all the way through it, who don't really have storylines of their own, are Elaine Collins, Alison Peebles, and Jenny McCrindle's characters. You know, and again, because I think you've got three really brilliant actors playing those characters that, especially Jenny McCrindle, because we don't know anything about her apart from the fact that in one episode she's hungover from doing some tequilas and using the gents' toilet the night before, but we don't go out with her. We just, but the way she reacts to the patients, where she sticks up for herself and everything, she's a great character. And again, maybe we would have gone home with her in series 2 and learned about her home life and her situation and things. Maybe they'd have developed her a bit more. They sort of develop Anne, played by Alison Peebles, a wee bit, but her development is kind of linked to Nash's breakdown and everything,
Yeah, we do see a little bit more of her with the episode with Lisa,
the girl,
baby. But it's more just of a kind of, she's angry at her. You will raise this baby, it's your flesh and blood, it is your child. I had to stop because I was like, who is the girl that's playing Lisa? She's so familiar. And she's the actress only has 2 acting credits. She played Lisa in Psychos and Frances in Gregory's Two Girls.
Yeah, that's right.
It was, of course, the Frances. But yeah, I did feel she does get a little bit more in that episode. But you're right, it would have been nice to see a little bit more of those, because we get obviously the doctors. And I guess the one that we haven't really spoken about too much is Shug, of course, played by Alastair Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Just a year later, he would have been lording it over Don Steele in Monarch of the Glen. But he's on the ward in Psychos at the moment. But great performance from him, Alastair Mackenzie. And Shug is a very interesting character, I would say.
Yeah, he's sort of, he's the one, I feel really bad for Shug in this, because he just can't seem to catch a break. When we first meet him, he's separated from his wife, and then she comes back and gives him a bollocking for not trying to get her back, and then only for her to cheat on him when he does take her back, and then he fails his exam and everything, and then and we learn that the exam, it's not a case of whether he can sit it again. He's actually sat it 4 times, which means he can't sit it again, which means he can't develop in his role and his job as a psychiatric doctor, So like his life's in flames, basically, by the end of the episodes. And people are trying to support him, and he kind of pushes them away. He's a really tragic character. So it is. It's quite good to see him playing a character like that, because usually he plays the sort of chiseled, authoritative, good-looking, kind of charming guy, doesn't he? It's not often you see him playing like a bit of a kind of pathetic sort of loser character.
I really liked it. Probably one of the funniest parts of the series for me was when he takes the phone call of the guy that's going to jump. Yeah. And he kind of gets a bit flustered, hangs up, and then he's concerned about how did you get through to this number? And just kind of, you see him looking around and just pretend that call didn't happen. And just wait and see. Again, unresolved. We don't know what happened there. But I did find that amusing. And it's a good character. I felt really sorry for him, and really put down upon.
There was a really good sort of one-off kind of TV movie, I think, or maybe a mini-series, I can't quite remember, that Alexander Mackenzie was in, called The Reichenbach Falls. And it's written, Ian Rankin wrote it, I think, for the TV. It's not based on a book, but it's sort of linked to the Death of Sherlock Holmes book, where him and Moriarty fall over to. But it's not a Sherlock Holmes story. It's sort of inspired maybe a little bit by it. I can't quite remember, but I remember catching it when it was on the TV and really, really enjoying it. And he was. His stock was pretty high because Monarch of the Glen was so successful at that time. It's got a good cast. It's got Laura Fraser's in it, and Richard Wilson and John Sessions is in it. I've just pulled it up here on IMDb. Nina Susanna's in it. If I can get a hold of it, I'm pretty sure it's set in Edinburgh. It probably is if Ian Rankin's had anything to do with it. So if I can get a hold of it, maybe it's one for a future episode. But he's doing a voice in the upcoming James Bond game that's coming out on the PlayStation called First Light. I'm not sure exactly what voice he's doing. I don't know if he's doing Bond or whoever. But yeah, that's his next big thing that's coming up. And he also did that BBC drama about Lockerbie, the bombing of Pan Am 103, which I watched, which was I thought was good. Hard watch in some cases, but it was. I thought it was better than the one with Colin Firth that Sky did. It was a bit more procedural than the Colin Firth one is more from the perspective of the doctor whose daughter died on the flight. I can't remember his name.
Right.
But he's usually quite close to any stories about Lockerbie that come up. Jim Swire, that's his name. Jim Swire.
Did you think, was this realistic? To go back to Lisa, the girl who has the baby, and then we have Luke, played by Ian Robertson. There's something you think maybe go in there, but then her boyfriend Dean pops up, played by Gordon McConnell, of course, Deke from River City. Is it believable him putting the shiters up Ian Robertson's character when he kind of goes up and gives him a little dig? Keep your hands to yourself.
Considering he comes up to Ian Robertson's nipples at that point, he's not exactly the most threatening. He's in some of the. Was he not in the? That's him at the masturbating now sketches and chewing the fat. Yeah.
He's also in. I've discovered this, and I had no idea about this. A show that ran from 2002 to 2005 called Jeopardy. And it's an Australian show. Oh, yeah. There's 40 episodes.
What?
Right? He's in all of them. And it's about a group of Scottish school children who travel to Australia in search of UFOs. The exciting journey is just the beginning of their adventures as the young explorers record their experiences on camera. Maybe coming soon on the Culture Swally.
No, I'm going to be looking for on YouTube later this evening.
Jeopardy.
I met him in the garage one night and made an absolute fanny of. In fact, that was the night you were there. You were in the garage as well.
Oh, was it?
It's the night I met him and Stephen. What's his name that plays Shell Suit Bob in River City?
Yeah. Purden.
Yes, Stephen Purden. Yeah, fucking too much to drink. Did not fucking made a bit of a tit of myself. Anyway, let's not dwell on that. But yeah, he's not like. I mean, Ian Robertson. So I was watching him, and I know obviously I'm not going to talk about. He's sort of gone down the Guthrie road of getting himself in soapy bubble. But I was watching him on this today, and he's playing a character with schizophrenia, right? His storyline is quite interesting. It's quite, he's developing schizophrenia. You mentioned earlier he thinks his mum's trying to poison him with mercury, so he started swallowing gold jewelry because he knows that. Because he's also supposed to be like really intelligent as well. He uses some big words and things, doesn't he? And I'm watching and I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking about things like The Debt Collector and Small Faces and some of the other things I've seen him in, and I'm thinking, was he ever really a very good actor? Or he does have like a good face and a good kind of presence and stuff, you know, and he's got a good look. He's quite unusual looking, which, you know, and I was thinking, was he ever really that good an actor? I mean, I've not watched him in anything recent. I never watched River City. I know that he was in that for a long time, more kind of latterly before his troubles began. And I'd seen him in some stuff when he was a kid. Like I remember seeing him in Grange Hill. He was in Grange Hill, and he played a baddie in Grange Hill. I think he striped some girl's face and was selling the biggest acid tabs I've ever seen him. Like an acid tab the size of a fucking stamp. You know what I mean? But
I remember that
because like Small Faces is one of my favourite Scottish films. Like I really like it. I really like the sort of the kind of dedication to recapturing the look and feel of that time in Glasgow and everything else. And there's a lot of great characters in it. And you know, he is the kind of main protagonist in Small Faces, and he's really young in that. And I'm just like, well, you know, have I maybe given him a bit of a break because I like Small Faces so much? Was he even that good in that? Or does he kind of get away with it because he was so young? And he was only like 12 or 13, right, when they filmed Small Faces?
Yeah, I think so. About that. Yeah, like, 13.
Is he? I mean, because his sister used to work at Frankie and Benny's at the Quay in Glasgow. She didn't work there when I worked there, but she was friends with people who still worked there when I worked there, so she would come in a bit. And I did meet him once. And I said a very quick hello to him because he came in one night with her for dinner to have dinner with a friend of hers who still works in the restaurant. And I said a quick hello to him and he was fine. He said hello back and all that. You know what I mean? He was all right. But yeah, I just wondered, is he that good? Is he even that good in this? You know, with all these earrings and his big Marky Mark baggy clothes.
Yeah. He's not, not the best, I'll be honest. Not the best. I would like to see, I can't find it anywhere, but I wonder if it is available somewhere. He's in that Sea of Souls with Bill Patterson and Dawn Steele.
Yeah, we've been trying to get hold of that, haven't we, for a while?
Yeah, I can't find it anywhere. I would love to see if he's any good in that. But you're right, now I think about it, he always kind of plays the same kind of character.
Yeah. He always plays a bit of he sort of plays like a gadget, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You know, like he's like a wee gadget, you know, and then he's a bit of an older gadget. He was in The Match, of course, with Bill Patterson, wasn't he? He was okay, and I mean, those characters were good characters in The Match. But they were just like another two eccentric characters in the whole cast of really eccentric characters, really, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a tricky one, Ian Robertson. We'll see. His trial is set for June this year, so we can,
And he had maybe a couple of years ago, he had a sort of travel show, didn't he, on BBC Scotland when he was walking the hill. He was walking. I think he did some of the West Highland Way, and Joe McFadden joined him for one of the episodes as well, as I recall. I saw bits and bobs of it on, because I was following him on Instagram, obviously, before, because, you know, we've had him on episodes of things that we've done for the podcast. I saw some clips, or maybe it was Joe McFadden's account that I saw him doing that thing on. But obviously his social media now has all been closed down, much like Kevin Guthrie's.
The other person I feel really sorry for, of course, is Tommy, played by Jake Darcy. What a shame. Poor Tommy.
Yeah.
He's trying to do so well, and he's just trying to do a favour for Davy and gets his tea spiked with whiskey, and then that's it.
I mean, Jake Darcy, I think, considering the fact that this is basically he's in like 2 episodes, it's like a guest. He's absolutely, I mean, I don't... I mean, Jake Darcy has to be one of the big sort of mysteries of... He's sort of there with guys like John Morrison and, you know, even like Tam Dean Byrne and Billy McCall and all that, who just never really... You know, I've got some fantastic appearances and performances in their resume, but it just never ever really seemed to kind of happen for them, you know? Because, I mean, he's in this for 2 episodes, and same with like kind of Harry Jones, you know, he pops up in the last episode, he's Scamp the Dog's owner, right?
Yeah.
And they just fucking, you know, they're fantastic. Like, really, really good, but especially Jake Darcy, you know, and you know, you just get the feeling he knows that type of character. You know, he knows people. He knows people like that. You know, that well-intentioned, generally just good people, but hopelessly addicted to alcohol and can become some and just ruin everything, burn everything down around them when they get pissed. You know what I mean? I think I've thought he played it really, really well. You know, and they don't kind of, when he is actually drunk, it's a fairly short scene. You know what I mean? The most effective scenes are with him and Billy McCall and then him with the guy that he goes to buy the drugs for Davey, for Billy McCall's character. You know, he's so good.
But you're right, the scene where he is drunk, it's not it's difficult and heartbreaking to watch, but it's because he's playing effectively a drunk. He's not playing laugh about, oh, I'm pissed. You know, he's hammered and heartbreakingly so. Yeah. And it's horrible to watch, but beautifully done, if that makes sense. And it's good old poor Tommy.
More for day, Doc. Just want to say how much I appreciate this. You're a great man. You'll go far. I'm a good judge of character.
Got exams to go over first, amongst other things.
You'll breeze it. Nay bother. Bright long man like you. I've got faith in you, Doc. You are the business. Look, relax. Don't worry. We're all behind you.
But that's the thing about this. Like I mentioned at the beginning, at the intro. You know, like when we come to do the awards for the Cosmo Award, I mean, there's so many. I mean, Scottish act. I mean, Alex Ferns even pops up in a wee role as a policeman.
Yes,
you know.
It's like, oh my God, it's Trevor.
You know, and Billy McCall was the most frustrating one because I'm like, who the fuck is that? It was the same. I didn't recognise John Morrison immediately. It took me a couple of seconds to realise. And they're such small parts, but you know, I mean, like just so many. Even like a young, handsome Jamie Sives there, you know, popping in for a few scenes. You know, you can tell why Martine was tempted. Fucking tempted myself. Good looking young guy, you know what I mean? Like, I'll go for a drink. I'll go for a drink with you, no bother.
There was definitely a lot. You're right. There's a huge amount of Scottish talent in this that just pops up for little bit parts and things.
Lorraine McIntosh is
amazing. Lorraine,
with her unique eyes.
Yeah,
nobody's got eyes like McIntosh. I'm telling you.
I did like. I was kind of taken aback by her as well when she pulled out a pack of. We were just talking about it off air. A pack of John Player specials. I was like, oh wow. She just casually lights up a fag in the hospital, as everyone else was. But simpler times. But
the thing is, though, I think that is quite authentic because, you know, like I've mentioned this on the pod before, but when I was young and my mum and dad were still together, we lived next to Lennox Castle because my mum and my dad both worked at Lennox Castle, which has all been closed down now, but it was a big psychiatric hospital just outside Glasgow. Ironically, Celtic have built their training facility where the hospital used to be. You know, I don't know if there's any irony there or not. I don't think you'd have to look too hard for it if there is. But I think like smoking would have been, because you know, they're not surgical wards, right? And I know that one of the kind of priority of managing a psychiatric ward back then certainly was keep everybody calm, you know, and if smoking kept a patient calm, then it would be well allowed, if not encouraged.
Yeah.
You know? But
keep calm, have a fag.
Keep calm, light up. I've hated going anywhere near the hospital, even right up into my teens. My dad worked there. Like my dad, he was made redundant when the hospital shut down, and I think I was maybe 21, something like that. So he worked there for a lot. My dad served his time at Lennox Castle as an apprentice as well, because it was a bit of a little cottage industry. You know, you had painters and you had a forestry and all sorts there. It was sort of fairly self-sufficient kind of NHS facility. But he worked there. Like half of his fucking working life, I think, was at the castle. But yeah, I hated it. Was terrified of the patients right up until I should have known better, basically.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think I would have watched a second series of Psychos had there been one. But unfortunately, as you say, it was cut short. There was complaints to Ofcom about, reinforced stereotypes and prejudice. They also ruled that a sexual relationship between a doctor and a patient was trivialised and gave the wrong signal about the seriousness of such a breach of trust.
Yeah.
So, second series was cancelled and it was condemned by the Royal College of Psychiatrists as well.
Yeah, I mean, it said it got 28 complaints. That doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that many. If you read the reviews on IMDb, there's about 10 reviews and about 5 of them are from people that say they work in this industry, in this area, and they've said it's the most realistic thing they've ever seen.
Well, there you go.
So, make of that what you will. I really enjoyed it. It's a mess. It's frantic, but I'm glad I watched it. And I would definitely watch a second series if they had made one.
But I think it's I think the pace of it is quite typical of a lot of drama at the time that you mentioned.
Yeah.
This life had a similar vibe. And also, like Danny Boyle's style of shooting was a bit like that, wasn't it? Like short scenes, fast, the little bits of surrealism peppered through. If I think about something like Shallow Grave, it's a bit like that, isn't it? You know, maybe not so much Trainspotting, but I think you can definitely feel there's a lot of that kind of Trainspotting-y, Cool Britannia sort of vibe to this.
Oh yeah,
not least the music, you know.
Yeah. It's very, shaky camera work, close-ups. It's very that kind of style and feeling. As I said, at the beginning, it's just very 90s, hugely 90s. So, but it was great.
Anyway, then, I sense that the time has come to put Psychos through our Swally Awards. So I'm going to jump right in here. First award, as always, is our Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub in Psychos. What did you think?
There's the pub for the go to the Motherwell game.
Yeah.
Or there's Chris's Wine Bar, which we don't really see much of. He wants a pint of wine. I went with the Motherwell pub.
Yeah, me too. I quite like the pub where Nash is watching the football at the beginning of episode 2 when he's watching a Celtic game. Yeah. It doesn't feel like a Celtic pub, although it probably is because it's a pub in Glasgow showing a Celtic game with people supporting Celtic, so it probably is a Celtic pub. Next then, so this is the hard one. It's the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. I mean, I kind of gave up and wrote down 5. What did you settle on anybody in particular?
I've got 2, and it was between Darcy and Peebles for me. But who else have you gone for?
So I've got Peebles written down first. Then I've got Jake Darcy. Then I've got Jenny McCrindle. Then I've got Billy McCall, and I've got John Morrison. So I think probably Alison Peebles is the one who deserves it since we've both picked her and I picked her first.
Yeah.
Next then is the Jake McQuillan Your Tease Out Award. Apart from Stephen Duffy getting a double slap off, I guess it has to be Danny getting plunged at the end, right?
That's the exact 2 I've got. Nash getting stabbed, and then obviously I've got Martine slapping Ben a couple of times with a lovely "that was for my mum." Wonder what he did to her mum. That's what
I'll bet Stephen Duffy couldn't believe his luck getting to have a kiss and a cuddle with Indria Varma. He also got to have a couple of sex scenes with Dawn Steele in Tinseltown as well, around about the same time.
Oh yeah,
so he does.
Lucky fella.
Yeah, lucky fella indeed. Next then is usually the Ewan McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. I had Nash in the shower, although it's not very gratuitous. Is it?
No, we do see Shug's missus being taken from behind with the gentleman in question. We do see his bare arse, so I went with that.
Yeah. So the next then is the Frank Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing. So there's a lot of fucks and fuckings and stuff. For me, my favourite that I've picked is, I think it's Nash who says, "We all think we're the centre of the fucking universe, but we're all just bastards." I don't know why that made me laugh so much. I know it's not particularly gratuitous, but did you have anything that tickled your fancy?
I liked Martine. I'm not hooking this woman up to the fucking mains.
Yeah.
But my favourite is Never Spoken. It's Nash's notes to himself that you see in his apartment, which are fix bastard shower, take bastard lithium, call bastard bank. I liked just the use of just inserting bastard into everything in the middle. I thought it made me laugh a lot. So yeah, I went with that as my best use.
Sort of angriest man in Glasgow a bit there.
Yeah.
And then next then is our archetypal Scottish moment. Surely has to be Iron Brew for a Hangover.
Yes, that was exactly it. Iron Brew for the Hangover. And I adore that Iron Brew vending machine they had in this staff. Fucking loved it. Beautiful. But yeah, I went with, the Iron Brew for a Hangover.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also liked the description of Jake Darcy as a flaky Jakey. Quite a Scottish, quite a Scottish bit of terminology there. And then last one, and I had a bit of a tough time with this, to be honest, for probably reasons that are obvious from the conversations that we've had. But who wins Psychos for you?
I gave it to Alastair Mackenzie.
Did you? Yeah. I was between him and Neve McIntosh as Kate, because she, she's a likable character, and she kind of gives as good as she gets. But I think Mackenzie, just because it's such a departure from the kind of thing we're used to seeing him in that you mentioned earlier, I thought he was really good, so I concur. With your selection.
Neve McIntosh would have been another pick, because she is a very good. I think it was because Mackenzie, just the range that he does in the show, he plays such different kind of, and I just felt Shug was the character that I liked. So
okay. Well, as we mentioned at the beginning, if you want to watch Psychos, it's only one series, 6 episodes. You can, if you're in the UK, as Nicky says, you can get it on All 4, the Channel 4 streamer, or if you don't want to sit through the adverts, you can watch it on YouTube, although it's not a great, it's not particularly good copy. And having said that, you might not be able to get it on YouTube in the UK, but you can definitely get it outside of the UK on YouTube. So, Psychos was my choice. A bit of a regrettable choice, picking something with 6 episodes when everything that's been going on in Dubai has been going on. But it is what it is. We got through it. That means it's your turn to choose for the next episode. So what are we watching?
Don't worry, I'm not giving you 6 episodes to watch. You're quite all right. I know my wheelhouse. Greg, if there's one thing we love in the Swally, it's a play for today.
Oh, yes.
Not just because it's short, because we love play for today's. It's been a wee while since we've had one. I think the last one we had was the silly season back at the end of last year. So I thought we'd rectify that. So we are going back to 1981, Greg, for this play for today. The year I was born.
Wow.
We're going to be joining the lovely, lovely Phyllis Logan, the lovely Anne Kristen, Alexander Morton, and Derek Anders, among others, as we watch The Good Time Girls. Nancy and Ella are 2 bored housewives, starved of affection when their husbands are away on the rigs. The rules are simple. Have some fun, just make sure nobody finds out, and don't get emotionally involved. And The Good Time Girls is available on YouTube for anyone that would like to watch it before we discuss it on the next episode. And it's only like an hour and 20 odd minutes long as well.
So expect some talky scenes and some I'm trying to think of the word, but those kind of some big acting, I think is the best way to describe what I mean. Some big acting.
There's some big acting involved.
Some looking out the window and bearing the soul. And
there's looking out the window. There's a lot of lager lovelies, and it's good. I watched it a couple of weeks ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. So The Good Time Girls. Next episode. Right, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us, cultureswally@gmail.com. Anything that you'd like us to review, any news stories you've seen, or if you just want to say hello. And we've got a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
We do. You can find us at cultureswally.com with links to all the episodes. and links to our socials, articles about Scottish TV and film. So, get in touch. Let us know what you thought of Psychos if you watched it. Let us know what you thought of us talking about Psychos. But yeah, just drop us a line.
Wonderful. Right. Okay then. Well, you stay safe out there, buddy.
We are doing our best.
Yeah, and enjoy. And I will look forward to discussing The Good Time Girls with you on the next episode.
Brilliant. Well, until next time.
Till next time.
Hello?
I'm going to jump.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I'm standing on a ledge. World before my feet.
How'd you get through on this number?
Are you going to come and get me?
Where are you?
I'm on the 22nd floor.
Well, where do you live? I mean, if that's where you are.
I've led a bad life, and it's time to meet the devil.
Right, okay, let's talk about this, shall we? Hello?